because now it's time to explore how AI is transforming the audio industry. This session will present a broad overview of practical use cases and a deep dive into two projects from Norwegian Aftenposten and Finnish Yle Yle. And to moderate this session and introduce the speakers, please welcome Nordic AI in Media Summit organizer and head of artificial intelligence and news strategy at Swedish Radio, Olle Zachrison.
Hi everybody, and hope you have some good energy still in the room. I have some distinguished guests with me here. They are from Aftenposten. We have Anne, we have Lena, and also Tove from Yle. And you will hear from them more in a minute. We're going to dive deep into some of the really interesting use cases that we have. You know that we have heard the term AGI a couple of times here, artificial general intelligence. And I'm now trying to speak to you about AAI, artificial audio intelligence, and see if this is intelligent enough for you. So we spoke about this in the last NAMS also last year, and I think back in those days, at least with the generative models and what was going on in audio, there was still a lot of kind of popcorns popping away in the factory, and nobody really knew what to do with it. How could we use generative AI also in the audio space? But I think in the last year, we have gone from some considerable hype also into some very practical and interesting use cases, both from serious media organizations, but of course also from the big tech companies. And in this presentation, I will first try to give you an outlook with some practical examples to listen to and to watch, and then go into more also about what we in the public service sphere are doing, and then also talk a little bit about ethical considerations. So let's start. My first example, and I think this is a pretty symbolic example of what is going on also with the generative AI models. It's Hacker News. It's a social news website in the US, basically a tech site. And they are producing text, a lot of stories, short form and longer form articles every day. And they wanted to have a kind of a daily roundup podcast also in audio form. So they are basically taking a model and generating an audio podcast completely automatically without any human supervision and playing it out to the audience.
Welcome to the Hacker News Recap, where we bring you an exclusive overview of the top 10 posts on Hacker News every day. Today's episode unpacks the tumultuous lawsuit Elon Musk has filed against OpenAI, delves into Apple's U-turn on the fate of progressive web apps in the EU, and reveals the shocking double life of Wirecard's COO as a Russian spy. All right, let's get to it.
Yeah, so a very typical example of a cloned voice, a synthetic voice that presents the podcast and does this roundup in a very efficient and also cost-effective way for them. We're going to come back plenty of times to synthetic and cloned voices. Another example of exactly that comes from Brazil. I actually was introduced to this case by David Caswell. And it's the Agência Pública. It's an investigative bureau in Brazil doing a lot of really great investigative journalism. But that kind of long-form journalism can be pretty hard to access for some people. For example, when they had done a story about corruption in the Amazon region, one of the farmers, he couldn't read very well, but he wanted to access the story about him, of course. And that was actually the first spark for them to create an audio form of this article. And now they have rolled out it in a very good way all over the website, especially for those kind of longer format text stories.
Só entra autoajuda e Bíblia. Presídios barram literatura para detentos por Leandro Aguiar, publicado por Agência Pública em 29 de fevereiro de 2024.
Yeah, so they took one of the voices basically of a reporter, similar to Anne, and cloned her voice, and it works fine. Svenska Dagbladet is also part of the Schibsted group. They have also, inspired by Aftenposten, cloned a voice. This is actually one of my old colleagues. And I don't think that they have launched it yet, but they are in preparations for doing that. Also using the voice actually to read out the articles from the website, of course.
På söndags eftermiddagen hade dödstalet stigit till 25 människor och 72 personer rapporteras vara skadade.
And I know Eva, and it sounds very much like her. What else is going on in this space? VG from Norway also, they have an excellent transcription tool that they have also open sourced or opened up for everybody. I heard a couple of examples over dinner yesterday that also other media companies are using this. I think this is a great example also if one company does a really good innovation that you can open up the access to more. Because transcription, of course, is the foundation of so much that we do in the AI audio space. We're going to come back to that. So what are the tech giants, or at least tech companies, doing? We have this green-friendly colleague in Sweden or in the world called Spotify. And I don't know if you have gone in, for example, lately into the Lex Fridman podcast, but a couple of weeks ago, he interviewed Jeff Bezos, and that interview was also made available in Spanish. And hear the voices now. They of course, have the intonation and accents and also the personality of the respective speakers.
La versión original de este episodio fue grabada en inglés. Las traducciones de voz se generan de forma artificial.
La siguiente es una conversación con Jeff Bezos, fundador de Amazon y Blue Origin. Esta es la primera vez que mantiene una conversación de este tipo y de esta duración, y según me dijo, sentí fácilmente que podríamos haber hablado durante muchas más horas, y estoy seguro de que lo haremos.
Y todo tipo de atención médica que salva vidas, etcétera, etcétera. Y hay una cosa que está retrocediendo y es el mundo natural.
And hey, of course, this opens up access to so many more people for an interview like this. I mean, this is just the beginning. We're going to see so much more of these kind of services that I think are very, very good in this case. I know Ezra mentioned this example. This is a pretty new thing that has come out in the last couple of weeks, the voice engine by OpenAI. And that is also basically a transcription tool and also a kind of conversion tool. So you can take a voice, you only need a 15-second long clip, then you can do a pretty good voice clone and actually also do a translation via that. So now we're going to hear first the reference audio, the real audio from this woman talking, and how it was kind of converted into other languages.
Friendship is a universal treasure. It brings joy, support, and laughter into our lives, no matter where we are in the world. La amistad es un tesoro universal. Aporta alegría, apoyo y risas a nuestras vidas sin importar dónde estemos en el mundo. 友谊是一种普遍的财富，无论我们身在世界何处，它都会给我们的生活带来快乐、支持和笑声。Freundschaft ist ein universeller Schatz. Sie bringt Freude, Unterstützung und Lachen in unser Leben, egal wo auf der Welt wir uns befinden. L'amitié est un trésor universel. D'où que nous venons, elle apporte joie, soutien et rire dans nos vies.
Yeah, so it keeps
友情は普遍的な宝物です。世界のどこにいても私たちの生活に喜び、サポート。
Sorry for interrupting. Yeah, so it keeps the personality and the flavor of the voice. I mean, you can almost see this in a media service now, that you have the original piece and you can just play it in different languages. I mean, this is not the future, it's here. So another example from OpenAI is, of course, that when, I think that was maybe a year ago, that in the chat GPT, you can also use it with a voice interface. So you can basically ask the model anything by just using your natural voice. And my colleague Thomas, who is here somewhere, asked it to summarize what AI can do for the audio industry.
Hi, ChatGPT. This is Thomas. My colleague Olle Zachrison, he will be doing a presentation and he will be talking about how AI will change the audio industry. Could you give me like a short summary in 3 bullet points around this area in English?
Hello, Thomas. Here's a succinct summary on the transformative role of AI in the audio industry. 1. Revolutionizing sound production. AI's capability to enhance audio quality, generate new compositions, and restore aged recordings introduces groundbreaking advancements in sound design. 2. Personalized listening dynamics. Utilizing AI algorithms, the audio content can be curated, tailored to individual preferences, crafting a more intimate and immersive listening experience. 3. Analytical insights from vast data. AI's prowess in analyzing extensive listener data offers deep insights into audience behaviors and inclinations, paving the way for strategic content creation and marketing initiatives. I hope this aids Ollie in his presentation.
Thank you, it did, yeah. This is a great example, I think, also how the generative models are combined also with audio services. And speaking about those services, what we're going to see now in the next couple of months or the next year is also the next generation voice services in the smart speakers. For example, in Sweden, Google Home maybe penetrated 5-10% of the market. It never really kicked off. Alexa didn't even exist in Swedish and other Nordic languages. But of course, now with the more language agnostic models from the tech giants, they are for sure gonna go into more markets. This is a promo now from Amazon on how they envision their new conversational voice services.
What's on your mind?
How did my soccer team do yesterday?
Yesterday, OL Reign won 1-0 against the Portland Thorns.
Can you give me a recap?
Your team was steady all through the first half, with a strong defense and 52% ball possession. Things got heated during the second half with a foul that earned the Portland Thorns a yellow card. OL Reign scored the first goal in the 55th minute.
Yes! Let's celebrate. What's a new pop dance song?
Hot to Go by Chappell Roan is popular.
Cool. Play it.
Sure.
5, 6, 7, 8.
Pretty American stuff. So if we map out some of these use cases in a quadrant, this is actually a model also that we showed last year. I mean, up there you have the audience-facing stuff. Here it's more tasks that we have in newsroom systems. Here is more traditional algorithms, the rule-based models, and there is the generative AI content. I mean, the voice clone would be up there, meeting the audience, rule-based. It only reads exactly the words that are in the article. To use the transcription, it's more of a newsroom task. Of course, asking ChatGPT about kind of anything, a summary or whatever, it's a newsroom task, but it's AI-generated content. And up there is the first example that I showed. We're going to come back to this model also to talk a little bit more about ethics. Because one thing that's happening now is also that we see this influx of AI-faked content, of course. And that's a big deal for us who are working with trust as our main data, and also in the audio space. And I just wanted to show you, before we come to you, a couple of quick examples of what's happening there. Maybe a lot of you saw this example when Sadiq Khan, the London mayor, his voice was faked, basically, around the riots in London with the Gaza protests.
Control the Met Police, they will do as the mayor of London tells them and obey orders. It was deliberately made to give the impression that I'd said what I hadn't said, but it looked and sounded so authentic. You know, we did get concerned very quickly about what impression it may create.
Yeah, so of course this is having real-life consequences, and therefore I think it's so great that new initiatives are coming in to make a better kind of digital verification of content, video, audio, text, whatever, We have seen BBC Verify, which is a big thing at the BBC. Our sister company in Sweden has also a verification service. New initiatives for also marking out or stamping the origin of content and the provenance is also coming in. In the audio space, we see now a launch of new services. For example, this one called Verific Audio from Prisa in Spain, which is also trying to compare like real audio from, for example, a series publisher with maybe a faked version of that audio or a faked host, for example. We have also seen that in Denmark recently, that people are trying to fake the voices of real hosts, of course. For us in public service media and in Europe, we have a common project that we call a European perspective. And one big thing about this is the database. We have a database of 2.5 million articles coming from all around Europe, which is a great asset. And we use this, for example, to surface stories from Swedish Radio at the France Info website, or even at the Suspilny website in Ukraine. So that's one part of it. But maybe the most, even more interesting part is that we can try different kind of AI capabilities within this database. For example, we have a project called Neo, which is to try out more conversational search. So I'm going to show you how it works.
Run from his record and lying like crazy.
I go in here to Neo, and you can just ask any news-related question. Why did Sweden become a member of NATO? And it picks up 10 articles from the database that are relevant. It gives me a little summary of the articles, very accurate response. I can scroll the different content pieces, and I can, of course, choose one piece here from ZDF in Germany.
Yep. For centuries, Sweden's cannons were only aimed at the Baltic Sea as a deterrent. As a neutral country, it was possible to stay out of Europe's wars.
So here you see the transcription and the translation, and we also use it with a synthetic voice. This is only for newsroom use, but it gives us access to content in languages that we can't normally understand. And the main thing, it's based on trusted public service media content. So our database kind of assures the credibility of this content. So now we're going to do our first deep dive. I'm so happy to have Lena and Anne here. And Anne, this is a big thing to have a voice clone in the room. So Anne, you launched this version of your voice like a year ago. And can you tell us a little bit, for you as a journalist, you're a famous podcast host in Norway, what was the motivation for you to become the first cloned voice of Aftenposten?
Well, the experience has changed. When I was first asked, this was 3 years ago, so I had no idea really what I was asked, because the question was, would you like to read some test sentences to make a clone of your voice to read articles on our website? And I was like, sure. I was the only one left because the rest had gone on summer holiday and I was just in the studio for a week. But it wasn't until I heard the first version of it. This was maybe half a year later or something. That's when I realized how good it was and how much like me it sounded. And that's really when, I think there's a picture of it if you flip to the next one.
You look a bit shocked here.
This is my honest reaction to the first time I heard this voice. And this is also the moment I realized, like, I need a proper contract for this.
Actually, if we can stay there for a second, I mean, what was important for you personally when accepting to become this voice?
Well, then, honestly, it wasn't that much of a well-thought-out decision, because it was just, would you like to try this? It's new technology. We don't know where it's going to go. We don't know how we're going to use it. Would you just like to try? And that's what I said yes to. And 3 years ago, none of us really had any idea.
But there were some kind of legal ramifications, and you had to define a contract for this, no?
Yeah, when I heard it, yes. And no one, it wasn't launched yet. For the next picture, it wasn't launched yet. But then that's the first moment I realized that we needed a legal document for this. And I think maybe that's how a lot of this technology, or like the attitude towards this technology develops, because we realize along the way how important it is.
So what happens, for example, if you leave Aftenposten? Can they still use your voice?
No, and that was one of the things that were most important to me. It was that Aftenposten couldn't use my voice if I quit. It was also that it was to be used for journalism only. So not for advertisement, not for content marketing, not for, for fun, for bachelor parties of someone in the newspaper. No, but it's easy, right? When you have the technology, you want to try, you want to have fun with it. But also it's the integrity of Aftenposten and also my own as a journalist. Because people associate my voice, if they associate it at all, I'm not famous, but if they associate my voice with anything, it's with Aftenposten.
What kind of other ethical considerations do you see, or issues?
Well, I get this question often, and I think the voice, it never reads anything other than our journalism. And that's why I think the particular use of it doesn't present any extra ethical issues other than that it sounds like me. So all of our journalism is read by at least 2 editors, at least 2 people who didn't write the article, and that's how all of the ethical concerns in what it says are being considered. Yeah.
Have people kind of approached you on the street, or have you had any kind of real-life reactions from consumers of this voice?
Of consumers outside of the house, no, because I don't think, like, a lot of people don't realize that it's a robot, even though it's marked, but people don't really see it. But what I do get is people, like colleagues of mine, telling me, because I don't really listen to this voice, because it's a bit weird having yourself read the news. So what I have is colleagues coming up to me going, hey, you need to learn how to pronounce Joe Biden. And I'm like, what? I know how to, oh.
The
it's
voice.
the voice. It's the voice. She says, you were Biden, or something. But yeah. She did. She's better now, but yeah.
So the voice has become better and better, would you say?
I think so, yes, and that's a lot of Lena's work, really.
We can ask Lena, the project manager, a bit later. But for example, Norwegian is a complicated language, or it's actually 2 languages. So when it comes to the dialects, or also the different words, or have you had that reaction also, that the voice is maybe mispronouncing something, or just misunderstanding something?
Well, when I read it, a lot of the test sentences, there were like 7,000 of them. It was not a 15-second clip like this easy shit. No, it was, what I read were sentences from Aftenposten with the tone of voice and with the language model that we use. Like, not model in this sense, but the framework for the language. So I read it like we write it. And I think as long as that is the same, it will sound almost the same.
Last question. I mean, you've inspired other Schibsted titles also to do the same. Have you had any contact with Eva or the one from Aftonbladet? Do we have a little voice clone club within Schibsted? Or?
We should make one. Maybe our clones could get together. No, we don't have it now, but maybe we should.
Do you think, has this been a positive experience for you as a journalist, and do you encourage other people to maybe do the same?
It's been fun to be part of, really it has. But yes, I would urge people to think of the contract before you say yes.
Thank you so much, Anne. We'll give her a hand. And Anne is going to leave the stage now, and it's not because you've been insulted by the questions, I hope, but you have to catch a plane. So.
I do. If you have any question, you can email me or Lena, or yeah.
Thank you so much. Lena, we have to do also some of the geeky questions here. I mean, we heard the first version of the voice last year. Can you tell us a little bit more about the further developments in a project like this?
Yeah, firstly speaking about the improvement of the pronunciations of the voice, for instance. Obviously, 2 years ago, we had problems like deep fuck news was pronounced instead of deep fake news. Martin Luther King, that was before we launched, and we trained a lot. But as both Anne and I has been presenting news, we also know that when you're a real person in a studio, if you say something wrong and you come out and say, hey, that was wrong. And the next time you pronounce it correctly. And that is how we work with this cloned voice too. We improve it every day on our word level. But that is not enough for Scandinavian languages because as you all know that are Scandinavian, getting the stress in the right place in the word and getting this melody, that's the naturalness for us. It's a part of the identity. And that's turned out to be quite difficult. A year ago, I was like, are we ever going to get voices like in English? Today, I'm much more optimistic. In Schibsted now, we are working with 2 different providers. And they have strength, both have strengths. And we also seen, especially in Swedish, with Ebba and Lena is working with, has much more naturalness than the Norwegian, because that provider can't do that in Norwegian anymore. But the biggest reason why I am optimistic, because we need to solve this on a systemic level, it's because you talked about it and Esra talked about it, open models, just like we know with Jojo in VG, who used Whisper and made a solution. We see Voicecraft was announced a week or 2 ago, and it's told to be better than 11 Labs, still just in English, but it's definitely give all the professional providers we have today, they can start using it and improve their models. New people can come on the stage, media houses can experiment themselves. So I'm really optimistic that NAMS 2025, I really hope we can show Scandinavian voices with that naturalness that we're just dreaming of. I'm so much more optimistic than a year ago.
You'll be welcome back. but it's not enough for the audience to maybe play one article of 3.5 or 4 minutes. Why? How did you find out that, and what have you done to kind of mend that?
Yes, we've learned a lot. We had learned a lot when we were here last time and was eager to sort of fix it. For those of you who were here last year, most articles in the newspaper are 3.5 minutes. And you can say that's very long for an audio file and it should be shorter. That's one part of the story. But to listen to one of them is like listening to one music song on Spotify. So what we have done since last time, we have played with playlists in different ways and in close collaboration with users. We have offered it in the app under podcast in different topics. And that has been successful in one way, but not hugely successful. And if you go back to the first, and the one before, I think, Yes. Because what we have learned that is really important is for an ordinary subscriber in Aftenposten, which is a bit over 50, they're mostly interested in reading.
Yeah.
But they think that if they can also listen while they drive their car, hold their hands onto something, that's a value that sort of increase the value of their subscription. So for them, it's super to have a player within an article. They find that valuable. But younger users, they don't need the article or the written part to sort of have the value from the audio. And so the most successful thing that we've seen, if you go back to the one with automatically play next, that has been the biggest surprise, because then you start one article and it automatically, with a little signal in between, it plays on and on related articles. And that's, we have gone from listening to 1.5 articles to 3 to 4 articles on web and app. If we only look at app, which I don't have, there is like 6, 7 articles. And when you talk to people, it's really great, because You see this, what's NRK, where I worked for before with radio. You just listen and there's a lot of things coming. Yeah. People actually like that. Young people too is like, oh, I would never have clicked on that article when you see it, but it was really fun listening to. So that's been the biggest surprise. And I think working from there and thinking audio first, making audio and text based on the purpose, not like starting with text and then make audio out of it, as we have done so far, is sort of...
You're moving into our territory now.
We are doing that. I think a stream of audio that's to the...
Yeah, no, but that's exactly the same behavior we see at Swedish Radio. People press play and put the phone in their pocket or put it away and just continue to listen. Shortly, to finish off, Lena, what can we expect going forward?
Going forward, we can expect, we are working together with Curate on recommended playlists, and that's exciting. And we also have an API ready to make an audio-friendly version of an article, where SMK, that's the Prime Minister's office in Norway, the short, that will read out the whole word, because that's not good with shortenings. Take out extra quotes, shorten the text, and make it ready and suitable for audio. These are the two things we are working on, but there's a lot of things going on in Schibsted. Both Aftonbladet and SvD is really creative with audio first, and there's a lot of great different news product based on clone voices coming soon. And we have our first dialect, because this is the Eastern dialect. Bergens Tidende is soon launching their first dialect voice. And Stavanger Aftenblad is having an audition for their voice. And VG, I can't say what, but I think they have something pretty interesting cooking.
Okay.
So.
Have to look out for that then. Yeah. Thank you so much, Lena. We're going to turn to public service now, Tove. Soon I'm going to ask you a couple of questions also about the Wiley projects. But before that, just a couple of examples also what public service media companies are doing in this AAI space. So this is not new, but I just think it's such a good practical use case with automated weather services. We see that in Germany. We see that BBC is doing that for like a massive amount of postcodes. You can't do that with the human kind of weather presenters, but you can do regionalized weather forecasts in a much more slick way with using cloned voices.
Here's the BBC weather forecast for W1A. In the afternoon, it will be rather cloudy with longer spells of showery rain look to drift in from the southwest, these locally heavy, some with thunder. Today, we'll see a high of 12 degrees Celsius, a low of 7, and there is a chance of rain too, so maybe take an umbrella with you. Here's what you can expect.
Well, it's always raining, basically. So another thing that a lot of media companies are also looking into, it's like when you have big live events or live broadcasts, to give greater accessibility to that by using automatic transcription. This is the Warmest Week. It's a huge event in Belgium. And to give better accessibility to people who maybe can't listen in that situation, who have hearing difficulties, they choose to do it with the Eurovox, the EBU model, basically a live transcription that worked really well. We can also see that, so many of our public service media colleagues are enhancing the transcription systems that they have internally. Like, for example, Radio France here, which are transcribing most of their kind of podcast and radio content, and also extracting tags and speakers and other metadata from that. Swedish Radio, we have been using transcription for a couple of years. It's been done wonders for our internal search. So our journalists use it every day. We transcribe all our news clips, 350 new a day, and most of our podcasts too. I'll just show you a little bit quickly how it works. So You click the audio.
Enligt Ukraina har hundratals begravda kroppar hittats i staden Izium i de östra delarna av landet.
Yeah, and basically you get the idea that the transcription follows the audio. Here we want to do much more work with, for example, extracting tags and cutting it up in different ways. Kalle mentioned this briefly yesterday, that a next phase for us now is also to surface that transcription to the audience. 1.5 million people have some kind of hearing difficulty, and it's our job as a public service media company to give them access to our rich audio content. So it's very much in the public service spirit, I think, to do this service. And this is an example.
Tina, om jag inte känner för att lyssna på ABBA i helgen, vad ska jag göra då?
Jag tror att det är oundvikligt, men du kan ju försöka. Du kanske ska testa öronproppar.
Det här är Dagens Eko med Robin Olin. Idag, därför kommer ABBA att överleva oss alla.
Det börjar med en mystisk musikvideo som dyker upp på SVT i slutet av mars i år.
Here we are transparent in the beginning that this is an automatic transcription and that it's an AI-generated text and that it can contain errors. We're not going to say that we have any human oversight of this because we don't want to have that. Of course, I mean, that would be impossible if we're going to do this on all our podcasts. But this is just in a prototype phase. Of course, we will have to have an interface to correct maybe really grave errors if it's kind of libel or something like that. But the idea for us is to try to test this on focus groups now and to not have any kind of human supervision when we launch it. Other companies like Wiley are dabbling with this thought. Maybe we should do more news with synthetic voice also. This is not launched yet and they haven't decided where it's going to be launched. But this is from the Swedish section. You can...
Den nya färjan Aurora båt 9 fastnade i isen på grund av extrem ispress i Kvarken. Svårigheterna uppstod när kraftiga sydliga vindar pressade isen i höga vallar.
Yeah, that's a beautiful Swedish to my ears. Tove, so you're the AI innovation lead
Yes.
at Wiley.
Yes.
What does that entail, that job?
Well, I started on January, so I'm the perfect example of AI not taking jobs, but giving a job. So I'm at Yle Innovations, and basically my job, if put it in a nutshell, is to enable AI innovations at Yle, so that everybody can be an active participant and understand what it is all about. So also increasing AI literacy is a big part of my job.
Yeah. And can you tell us a little bit about also how Wiley is thinking in the audio space with AI? And can you give us a couple of examples?
Yeah. So I think that the audio isn't like that separate from the other stuff that we are doing with AI. It's covered by the same principles and the same strategy. But basically, there are a lot of opportunities in audio and AI at the moment. So we are really looking into that and into the creative side that has extra opportunities.
This is really creative. Can you tell us more about this?
I can, but can I ask you to bit improvise, because my derriere doesn't work with this chair and I have my notes here. So can we do this improvisation? See that I
you can stand here.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, sure. I can sit on the chair.
Yeah, thank you. To rest your rumpa, is it the word? Yes. See, I only use fine words for ass, or what is it called? Okay.
So Vicky and Köpi show.
Yes, so this is called Vicky and Köpi show. This is an experiment done by Juha Lahti, our executive producer at Yle. And also we had a technical partner called Sealy Solution that was part of this team that made this. And basically this is an AI generated or broadcast generated with AI tools, to put it in the right words. And it's a 20-hour lasting
Shall we listen a little bit?
Yes, go ahead.
Viki, mitä mieltä sä olet terveellisestä herkuttelusta työpaikalla? Onko se mahdollista?
No totta kai se on mahdollista. Ei tarvitse aina vetää sitä suklaapatukkaa tai karkkipussia naamariin.
Joo, olen kuullut, että nykyään on paljon terveellisiä välipalavaihtoehtoja, kuten hedelmiä ja pähkinöitä.
Juuri niin, hedelmät ja pähkinät on hyviä
It sounds funny.
Yeah, and it actually sounds pretty accurate as well. And the funny part is this is a funny show. I mean, these are like Vicky and Köpi are very famous, like these media persons and also comedians in Finland. So the show is basically, if you compare it to hallucinations done by language models, this show is like worse, way worse, like nothing compared to that. So, but also the clones sound pretty good. But the problem was that the script that we made with ChatGPT, which was moderated or checked by a human, it was too polite.
Aha.
It was too polite. They are talking about how to eat healthier in the workplace. Instead of chocolate, maybe nuts or fruits because there are better options. So the problem was that the talk was too polite.
Hei Viki, mitä mieltä?
What else are you doing?
Yeah, so we are also, this is a very exciting experiment that we have also done. It's called Hikikomori, using voice cloning in news storytelling. And this is an experiment by Päivi Koskinen, Jenni Matikainen, and the AI is done by Mikko Lehtimäki from Softlandia. And this is, I would say, a very interesting piece of experiment because this is like serious news journalism. So there is no humor in this at all. So the journalist wanted to tell the story of the Japanese hikikomoris, which basically are, the hikikomori is a phenomenon that is also known a form of severe social withdrawal. So it's like a very serious subject. And they wanted to test that could we use AI tools to sort of support and enhance the experience that we could feel what the hikikomoris really feel. And with like minimal budget and fast forward experimental mindset. So this was an experiment on that.
Olen hikikomori. Tätä on jatkunut suunnilleen 10 vuoden ajan. Siinä aikana on ollut monenlaisia vaiheita. Rankimpina aikoina ulkomailla ei tietenkään tuntunut mun omalta paikalta.
So what is the voice that we're hearing?
Yeah, so this, and also the sort of interesting thing about this is that the Wiki and Köpi was done with 11 Labs and ChatGPT. So plug and play, fast and light, like a solution. Nothing tech fancy. Nothing, it's the idea, what came out of it is great. But this is different. This is done, the voice cloning tool, it's called Tortoise, and it's open source. And we wanted to test out, could we do the voice cloning in-house at Yle News Lab? So we had like a source material of around 15 to 20 minutes from the Japanese interviewers who knew that their voice would be cloned. And we wanted to test, could we do it in-house? Because it was way more secure, cheaper, and also something that we wanted to explore. And it was a success. This story is actually one of the most read news stories that we have published this year.
So, Tove, you're also leading the innovation work for a wider scope of project, not just audio, of course.
Yes.
Can you just tell us quickly some about the goals for your AI innovation in the coming year?
Yeah, so Yle Innovation basically serves whole of Yle and all sorts of experiments. And the goals for this year, the biggest, one of these biggest projects this beginning of this year has been that we want to see the big picture. So we have formed an AI experiments portfolio that covers whole of Yle. So all the organizations and everyone at Yle. So we can sort of spot out the opportunities where we can sort of pick the projects that we can take forward and grow, or the experiments we can grow them into innovations, and also to see where we can develop ourselves and where to invest. And then we, of course, want to develop, as I said, the experiments into innovations, putting out ideas and doing these great experiments, that's easy, but making into a full-blown innovations, that's a whole nother story. Another thing is that we want to enhance the AI and technology skills at everyone at Yle, share opportunities, expertise, and lessons, and also we want to stay as pioneers. Finnish people don't normally say that we are good at anything or take credit, but we are very good. I want to say that publicly on record, Finn has done that. We're good, and we want to stay that way. So that's another goal.
Thank you, Tove. We can change places again. Thank you so much. Just to round off, if we go back to the model again, if we have the Anne Lindholm, the cloned voice from Aftenposten up there, and we have the transcription in the internal system there. Here we have another project that we're doing at Swedish Radio is using basically an AI model to give us suggestions for podcast captions, like summaries of a podcast. That would be a newsroom task and AI-generated content. And we have also done another experiment with having in our playlist doing automatic generative audio intros to a playlist. And also the little glue between the clips has also been automatically and dynamically updated. It's just a kind of exploration that we have done. Just a couple of ethical reminders then. Up here, of course, transparency is required. If it's a cloned voice, you have to explain that like you do in Aftenposten, and I know that you've also been working to do that aspect even better. Transparency, of course, I mean, what Agnes talked about, if it has a significant impact on the journalism, we have to be transparent about that. Here, we know that if we're using AI here, even if it's a rules-based system, it needs human review if we're going to use it journalistically. Here, we all know that if we use the generative AI models for content creation or research, there's a grave risk of factual errors that we have to look out for and that we have to correct. And of course, here up in this corner, that is what I would call the real editorial danger zone, at least for public service media organizations. So for example, Swedish Radio, we wouldn't ourselves do what we did in this exploration. We're not going to use synthetic voices in this way when in journalistic products. That's our position at the moment. Maybe we're going to change it in 6 months' time or in a year. But for us, the trustworthiness and credibility of the content is, of course, total key. So that was the big overview of AI in audio. Thank you so much to my guests that you were here, and look forward to seeing you again.